Thank you, Dr. Marcy, for taking the time to interview with Reach's student today. We are excited to learn from your insight. As headmaster of Windermere Preparatory School, can you tell us a little bit about how long you've been at the school and some of your main duties and responsibilities?
I'll be glad to. Serena, that's a really interesting question because I was really affiliated with Windermere Preparatory School since its very inception. I was a member of the conceptualization team of the American Schools Corporation that helped to launch the idea of bringing a private preparatory school to this site in Windermere all the way back in 1999. At that time, my role on that team was president of Windermere Preparatory School.
Wow.
When I left that role for other pursuits in the private sector, I could never have imagined in my wildest dreams that my career path would eventually bring me back to this school. After serving as deputy headmaster and headmaster of North Broward Preparatory School, one of our sister schools, as you know, from 2008 to 2012, I had the good fortune to return to WPS. I've now been here as headmaster for 3 years. My role, I think, is akin to that of a CEO in a corporation. I'm responsible for leading the executive leadership team and for ensuring the overall quality of all facets of the school's programming and operations to the benefit of the students here and to the benefit of Nord Anglia Education.
In interviewing Dr. Ling for the website recently, he described some of the benefits we have of being part of a Meritas International family of schools. Can you expand on this, giving your perspective now that we are no longer part of Meritas, but the larger Nord Anglia family of 41 schools?
I'll be glad to. Many private schools operate as independent entities. And as such, those that do are somewhat frequently isolated and limited in terms of their ability to provide professional staff with opportunities to engage in learning activities outside of their own immediate environment that will help them grow and hone their skills as professional educators. We are not constrained here in any way like that. As you know, WPS is now a very proud member of the Nord Anglia Education family of 41 premier college preparatory schools that are located in North America, in Europe, in the Middle East and Southeast Asia, as well as in China. And while each school is distinct and different in the portfolio, all of them are linked by the common Nord Anglia Education credo, a pedagogical framework called Be Ambitious. And it espouses the notion that there is no limit as to which each student can achieve, no limit to the development of his or her own personal talents. I think that synergy that springs from the close association and regular interaction between and among schools at all levels, from the lower school up to the high school, is beneficial in every one of those participant schools. The relationships of our schools one to another allows us to share best practices in order to learn from each other. It allows us to collaborate with and at times to compete against all of the other schools to the ends that we are working always to continually increase student performance, not only in each school but across the family of schools. I think that's one of the principal benefits of our association with Nord Anglia Education.
As headmaster, I'd like to know if there are any future construction projects or developments planned for the school, and when do you think we could see these buildings as part of our campus?
Well, we certainly believe that's going to happen. WPS, as you're aware, is well along the way to completing the facilities master plan for this campus, and you've seen over the past few years a number of new buildings going up on the campus. We had the new high school building, the Sports Performance Center a couple of years before that, the Learning Commons. But there are, however, still several additional projects that we hope to accomplish with Nord Anglia's help in the near future. These projects include the development of an off-site dormitory campus to house our international residential students, an expansion of air-conditioned upper school space as we grow. We're going to need that. Upgrading science lab facilities, construction of some additional classrooms to accommodate future growth. And probably the gemstone that we're looking for down the road is the construction of a fine and performing arts center and teaching complex. So those are the major ones that we've begun to talk about at this point with Nord Anglia Education.
Can you tell us what is the most fulfilling part of your job as well as the most challenging?
I sure will. I absolutely love working with my colleagues who collectively comprise one of the finest group of educators that I have ever had the privilege of working with in my 40-plus years in education. I particularly enjoy planning and orchestrating motivational and celebratory activities that contribute to the creation and the maintenance of a climate and culture in our school that inspires student engagement and student achievement, high achievement in our students. I believe that we have largely succeeded in helping our students to realize that we really are here for them and that we care mightily about their growth, both as students and as human beings, and that we sincerely want to contribute at this important stage in their lives in foundational ways that will ultimately help each of them to make their dreams come true. That's what we're all about here from day to day. Personally, I've found that working with great colleagues and with motivated students is both personally and professionally extremely rewarding. And it keeps me young, at least to some degree, but especially young at heart. I love working with young people. To me, probably the most challenging part of my job is succession planning. Jim Collins, the author of the business bestseller Good to Great, points out that great leaders do a good job in planning for their eventual succession. I'm seeking hard to heed his advice, but I must admit that the thought of retirement someday and no longer contributing to the leadership of a school on a daily basis after having done so for so many years is hard for me to contemplate. So I would say that succession planning is probably the hardest part of this job for me right now at this stage of my career.
Can you compare the school or schools you attended as a student to WPS?
There are really some contrasts that can be drawn. I'm a product of public school education in 2 Florida counties. Dade County, I grew up in South Miami, and I went to school there from kindergarten through the 4th grade. And then my family moved to St. Petersburg, where I was a student in the Pinellas County public school system from 5th grade through high school. I'm a member of the baby boomers generation, born right after the end of World War II. Thus, my experience with Florida education occurred in the 1950s and the early 1960s. I graduated from Boca Ciega High School in Gulfport, Florida in June of 1963. Society was very different in those days in many, many ways, as you can imagine. But for example, I never experienced the diversity that WPS students routinely experience on our campus every day. And I didn't experience the manner in which we are all affected by a global economy today. Those just weren't in the cards back then. I was taught in a chalk and chalkboard and pencil, pen, and paper environment. There were no computers in use by students in schools, no cell phones, no internet, no social media like that which exists today. We did have field trips, which we enjoyed. Various speakers came in occasionally, and there were instructional films on occasionally to supplement the routine of classroom instruction. Teachers back then were really in charge of the class. They tended to be more sage on the stage than guide on the side in the manner in which they directed learning. Rote memorization was emphasized much more than the development of critical thinking skills, and I'll give you an example. Back when I was about probably 13 years old, and maybe the 6th grade or 7th grade, we had teachers that were in an English class. We were doing a lot of diagramming, and they wanted to make sure that we knew what a helping verb was. So back then, the way teachers ensured that was have everybody memorize it. So 57 years ago, I learned that the 26 helping verbs where am, is, are, was, were, be, being, been, have, has, had, do, does, did, shall, will, should, would, may, might, must, can, could. That's an example of the rote memorization that, that I experienced when I was going through what is the equivalent of middle school. Back then it was junior high school. Students today have access to the means to access and learn, gather information and data, and continually push back the horizons of learning that we just never experienced back in that day. Though the tools for learning were far more meager than those that are available to students today, I still feel very, very blessed to have been educated during a time when there was a great spirit of patriotism and pride and love of country that permeated every aspect of my educational experience. I was blessed also with a series of wonderful English teachers from 5th through 9th grade who made sure that every student in their classrooms learned how to write and to write well. I also had a terrific experience in fine arts when I was in high school that I really loved. All in all, there are obviously some similarities, but there are really some significant differences between what I experienced and what students experience today, every day, at WPS.
If you could be a student at our school today, what grade would you want to attend and why?
Without a doubt, I would most look forward to the senior year of high school for many reasons. If I were to use WPS as a model, I would be looking forward to the ethical decision-making workshop that we annually offer to members of the senior class. It would be my first exposure to a highly professional, business-like environment for learning, one that is akin, for example, to what physicians experience when they are in a continuing medical education program or seminar, or to what attorneys experience when they go to a minimum continuing legal education program, or what major businesses offer to provide for the development of their employees. I would also really like the anticipation of receiving my college acceptances and going through the process of determining which among them would be the college or university of very best fit for me. I think those are important experiences for every student in our school. I would really cherish as well the culminating activities of the senior year of high school, from the high stakes external assessments of the IB and AP programs to the senior dinner and graduation. All of these, as well as the other end of year activities, I would relish because they're very special and they provide memories that really do last for a lifetime. The senior year, I think, is also unique in that it provides the opportunity for every hardworking student to experience the great personal satisfaction of bringing down the curtain on a successful high school career, as well as the anticipation and excitement of getting ready to take the next step in his or her life's journey. There's just nothing like the senior year of high school.
From your experience, what qualities do you think distinguish great students? And in your opinion, is this consistent with top college placement?
I believe that it is consistent with placement. I guess to my way of thinking, the role of a student is built upon relationships. Relationships with other students, relationships with teachers, staff, and administrators, as well as an ever-maturing relationship with their parents. I think the first element of being a great student has to do with being a good person. So I look for, in a great student, a person of good character, one who is a good listener, one who is willing to seek to understand before seeking to be understood. In my experience, great students are those who tend to navigate through the high school experience as practitioners of the golden rule. They balance personal zeal and ambition with appropriate humility and respect for other people. Good students, I think, are typically inquisitive, and they are largely self-directed in their approach to learning. To them, learning is really fun. They embrace challenges and at times taking risk and failing and learning from mistakes. That doesn't inhibit them in the least. They exhibit persistence and tenacity to achieve mastery to the very highest level that they possibly can. I also think that over time, great students are those that evolve into being critical thinkers and problem-solving persons who are able to reason at the highest levels of Bloom's taxonomy. They assume personal accountability and responsibility for their own learning. Great students, in my experience, are not typically one-dimensional. In addition to their academic prowess, they typically also demonstrate a reasonable degree of well-roundedness, perhaps showing talent in the fine and performing arts, or in athletics, or in some type of leadership in service to others type of role. These types of attributes, of course, are key differentiators in the college admissions process that can separate a strong academic student from another group of equally strong academic students and move him or her up the selectivity index that is typically used by most selective colleges and universities in their determinations of acceptance offers that will go out.
What are your thoughts on social media in relation to WPS students?
Social media is a really big, complex topic. I think that I guess first, the many social media tools available today certainly do provide a highly efficient, real-time means by which folks can communicate and be linked with large groups of people, as well as with the means to instantaneously transmit and locate information. It's really hard, as you know, to find anyone today that doesn't have at least a couple of devices to access social media communication. Harnessed properly for learning, there is no doubt whatsoever that the various social media platforms and the many apps that are available and that are continually being developed have wonderful utility for the enhancement of exploration and research, as well as for the customization and personalization of learning. They make access to information literally available at one's fingertips. I do also believe, however, that social media tools have an equally great potential to be misused with unbelievable cruelty, and I'll get to that thought in just a minute. An emphasis on and reliance on the use of social media is obviously a fact in our time, a fact of life in our time, and it will no doubt continue to be into the foreseeable future. I worry personally about several things, though, that I see with media use. I don't see it fostering the kinds of relationships anywhere near to the extent that they can be fostered through face-to-face or voice-to-voice communication. I've observed on many, many occasions what appears to me, at least, to be a highly addictive reliance, if not fascination, with social media. For example, have you ever gone out to a restaurant and seen a couple or seen multiple members of the same family busily thumbing their iPads rather than chatting and enjoying time over a meal with those around them? That scenario, which I see quite often, seems really sad to me. And I guess I'm at the core of my being a person who, when I think of gadgetry over people, that just doesn't appeal to me in the least. I also worry that on too many occasions, particularly with young people, there can be a sense of invulnerability, invincibility, and a sense of detachment from reality behind the perceived cloak of anonymity that can lead them to fire off messages that can reside in cyberspace forever without any real regard for the disastrous consequences the messages can have on recipients. When social media is used for the purpose of cyberbullying or character assassination, I find those who would misappropriate the use of social media platforms for such thoughtless, mean-spirited, and unkind purposes to be utterly disgusting.
I'd like to end by asking you if you'd like to share some advice for academic success.
I'll be glad to do that. Academic success. I guess the first thing I would say is it's important to be ambitious, to always strive for excellence and do your best. I think another good piece of advice is read, read, read. You cannot read too much. To be successful academically, I think you have to hone your interpersonal relationship and communication skills. I believe you need to develop a strong ability to manage time well. Time management skills are absolutely essential. Everyone needs to learn how to prioritize. Be honest with yourself. Know your strengths and play to them while you simultaneously seek to shore up your relative deficiencies. I think that's good advice. Know what you don't know. Don't be afraid to admit that you don't know something or that on occasion you make a mistake and you're wrong. It happens to all of us. Be willing to learn from others. I would say set high personal goals for yourself. Discover an area of special interest in which you have passion and something that you think you will love to do. And very importantly, allow no one to ever set an artificial ceiling on your potential to achieve great things. I think it's important to create a plan and work your plan and never waver in a belief in yourself or what you can accomplish of value, both to yourself and to other people as well. Another good piece of advice, I think, is pick your friends carefully. Pick them carefully. Another advice I would give, because life can be very stressful from time to time, and certainly the life of a student can be stressful. Embrace laughter as a good tonic, and don't be afraid to occasionally laugh at yourself. I'll share with you something that I share with teachers because I think it's applicable to students as well. I think it's important that what you say and what you do are consistently of such a nature that a group of people sitting as the jury in the court of common sense can regularly affirm your words and actions. If you do that, you won't stray too far into trouble ever. I would lastly say I think it's important to embrace learning as a joyful, joyful activity and study hard.
Thank you, Dr. Marcy, for sharing your insight with Reach a Student today.
You're very welcome.